Hello. Well, here we are again. Another little 5x7 painting. 5x7 inches. I was walking along the canal at Linlithgow today, and I took this photograph, and I've actually zoned in a bit. It was, I don't know if you can see it. You can see it a bit, can't you? It started out being, where was it now? That one, a bit of a distance back. And then I ended up just cutting off the bottom half so that there's a diagonal coming in from the corner in the bottom right. Now I'm going to get some brown paint. This is burnt umber, because I'm noticing that the colour, when I half close my eyes, the colour of the water is quite, it's quite a greeny brown. So I could do with some green as well. It looks like I've just got the sap green, but I was looking for the hooker's green, but the sap green will work fine as well. It's really just deepen the tone a little bit of the water. Let's start off there, I think, because that looks to me to be the biggest area of darkish paint. So I think, and there's reflections in the water that will later be distinguished. To begin with, I think I'll just do, even just the blue and brown together is fine for now. To begin with, I'll just explain where the water stops and the wall starts. There. I mean, the wall is almost, it's not quite, but it's almost, well, I was going to say almost halfway. It's not, it's just more than a third, really, the height of the wall. And actually the shadow or the reflection of the wall in the water means that the water is more wall colour than watercolour there in that bit, but I'm just going to paint it all the same for ease for myself to begin with. I say that and then I put some sap green into it. It's just that it's quite a bit brighter, the reflection, where the trees are reflecting into the water. And also there's a lovely bright reflection of the canal boat itself too. That turquoise covering that's on it is reflecting in the water. And then there's the dark of the wall coming down here. I'm just trying to judge the height of things. It looks like the line where the water stops and the canal boat starts is about as high as the wall on this side. So the canal boat would be in this area roughly. And I'm just going to, as I notice it, I'm just going to indicate where the greenery is behind the canal boat there. Might even not come over quite as far as that. Yeah, the boat might start a bit earlier. And then there's a very bright green grass coming down to meet the water, and the stones that skirt the water there. So I paint that in as well, this grass that's here. Again, I think I could use this cerulean blue for that grass, really. It's got a very bright quality to it. I'm still not completely satisfied with the spring green grass that I make with the cerulean blue and the yellow. I'm saying yellow like that because I don't know if it's cadmium yellow or lemon yellow I'm using. But I just feel like it gives it some bit of an oomph with the cerulean blue in there. going to try that. And again, I'm trying to see it more as shapes of colour rather than considering what the colours are. No, that's just about, it's a tiny bit above halfway, which is where I've got it really, so that's good. Come down a tiny bit possibly. And then I think the yellow ochre might be handy for the trees. Let's just see if maybe the cadmium yellow, which I think that is, mixed with a bit of the sap green will work in the first instance, because I think really the wall and things like that are more yellow ochreish. So I might reserve the yellow ochre mostly for those areas. Really, that up there now goes kind of greyish, as it's, you know, the greenery on the trees turns a little bit greyer with the light behind it. So I'm attempting to make the green grey. I think that's not too bad, a bit more blue in it. I just want to subdue the brightness as it meets the corner, where the haze of trees are overlapping each other and kind of softened by the atmosphere as they go into the distance. Right. I wonder what the best thing to do here is now. I suppose it wouldn't be any harm to start the wall and just do some indication of trees here. It's not the exact colour that they are, but I'm kind of wanting just to knock back the white before I make a decision about those trees. I'm not sure what will be the best move there. I might want them to be a little bit more muted than they are, so that the canal boat can stand out. So I'm just putting something in there, and now I'll find something to describe the wall, putting a bit of cadmium red into the mix. There is actually a flash of something red over here on the left, sitting on top of the wall, which is kind of nice. And I see that wall on this side as being a kind of purplish stone. So I'll just mix up a purplish colour for the shadow side of that, where it's sitting away from the light. And we can later put the slab stones that are catching the light on top. Something like that. I mean, it'll probably be significantly darker really. As one of the darkest parts of the whole image, I think, where the wall stops and the water starts. And the shadow that's attached to the wall, I should say, it's a dark shadow. And then it's quite dark too, kind of here, where the boat meets the water. There's a dark thing reflected. I don't know exactly what it is, but it's probably the bottom of the boat, half under the water and half over the water, but it reads as the same colour, because the reflection of it on the water makes it read as the same colour above and below the water. So it's a bit confusing, but I think it also kind of lets us know this is a boat, you know. It's only boats that do that. So I'm making the green a little bit more like Hooker's green by putting some ultramarine blue into the sap green. So it's a blue green now, which I think is what I want. Don't sound convinced, do I? Must remember to keep half closing my eyes so that nothing in the water becomes too dominant a tone. Maisie was barking mad at the neighbour's dog there, so I just put her into her bed. She was losing the will altogether as they passed by. Now this looks to me to be a little bit like the browny green colour that I'm seeing in the water, slightly murky kind of colours in the water there. I'll just leave them at that for now, I think, and then I could maybe do something of the reflection of the trees trees beside the wall there. Maybe greener than they actually are, but there's a darkish colour there where the boat stops or where the reflection of the boat stops and the dark colour begins. That's what I'm drawing, painting in. It's the dark colour. Okay, and then up there's a greeny blue as well in the shadows behind the canal boat. Yeah, so it's kind of hereish. It's just with my eyes half closed again, trying to find the mid-tone of that shadow as it comes over to meet the top of the canal boat. And then it gets significantly darker to the left there. But I'll just work to get this shape first now. And I think I'm heightening everything, making the canal boat and everything a bit higher than it is. So let me check that out. Yeah, it could be that green comes down here really, because the light green is higher. At its highest point, it's higher than the canal boat cabin. And we have a little bit of the canal here going back into the distance, just a little bit of it, which I thought was kind of helpful to keep in the image. You know, it might be a place there to put a little spray, which I could later wipe away for those leaves on the tree above that dark area. And while I wait on that drying, I'll just come over here a bit and try and find more clearly the tones on the opposite bank. So just above the dark shape there is a green, some greenery following along the edge. There's loads of greenery. As we walked today, there was an awful lot of lovely lush side bits on the side of the river. Just lighten it a bit with my thumbprint. See what I mean about the water being splashed on and reading a bit as dappled leaves over the space that I made a little bit too big earlier. It's a good shortcut for leaves over dark shadows. Now I'm going to make a bit more kind of mid-tone green. I think with this area I can lighten and darken it later if I want to. I'm just putting something in, so just to give it some kind of a value for now, which I suppose you could say is more the mid-tone. It's not the darkest and it's not the brightest, but it's something. And I might not need any more detail than what's here. And again, sure, I might as well do my splash thing, because I think that would be useful for some of the sprays as they come flourishing down the way. And then there's more of the yellowish green up here again. And again, it gets a bit darker and more muted as we go up here. Alright, that'll be alright for now. Okay, and now I'm just going to use the green to explain where the reflection of the wall stops in the water, and the reflection of the greenery starts. And there's a nice light green reflection there that's highlighting the dark shadow beside the reflection of the canal boat. Okay. I guess it would be a good idea now to put in the darks around the boat. And maybe first I could wipe away some of those leaves again before they get too dried in. It's a good idea to wipe them away, you know. Okay, and really the shadows in the water, the greens in there are warm the same bright yellow with the sunlight through them at all. I feel a bit bad for Maisie. I think she doesn't really know why she's in there, I'd say. I might let her out. And it's no harm to break down these videos a bit, isn't it? Because they can go on for a long time. Oh, she's really crying inside there. We had a good long walk in the woods and she met a couple of her pals and things. So she's not doing too badly. Right, so the colour that's in there now on the top of the wall is a kind of a, you might say kind of a goldy, coppery, browny, greenish colour. Now I'm going to have to go in and get Maisie because I feel bad for her there now, she's barking. It's quite bright back there. And then there's a bright bit along here too. And there's a bright bit on top of the wall along here. Not quite as bright as the rest, but for now that's going to work as the colour. Okay, I'll be back soon. Just going to rescue Maisie.